Hey everybody, Doa here, and we've got some very exciting news about the Gundam Assemble miniature game. So, we already knew that there were going to be special editions of the Gundam TCG starter decks, right? That come with 3 minis each that kind of relate to the cards in the decks, a lot of times relating to some of the token cards, so you can set the mini on top of the card. And now we've got to look at all of the minis that are going to be included with those starter decks. So I thought I would make a video breaking it down, taking a close look at all of these, giving you my thoughts on it, and then just kind of generally building hype for the Gundam Assemble game. Because I know it's been announced we don't get it until next year now, but I'm hoping at least with the minis from the starter deck, we get some sort of basic rules or something like that so we can get these on the tabletop and start playing. So I don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see, but at least we can take a look at the models now, and at least we can get excited about painting them. So the first one we're going to look at is going to be Heroic Beginnings Starter 1, Heroes Rise, A New Chapter Begins. Remember, these are all coming out July 11th of this year. So the deck itself involves Mobile Suit Gundam and Mobile Suit Gundam The Witch from Mercury, of course. But then the models themselves are only going to be Mobile Suit Gundam related. And I think this is more something to do with the tabletop game than anything, right? Where we're probably going to see specific franchises represented in the miniature game first that they're going to expand on later. So I would imagine there's going to be like a Witch from Mercury expansion kit or something like that, just a theory craft. But let's take a look at these models. Now, we've seen some of these already. This one we have seen before. This is the classic RX-78 Mini. I've gotten a chance to hold this one in my hand. It is about, the base is like about this. These are about like 2 inches tall or so. So they're a little bit larger than your average Warcraft Mini, of course. But I think that's going to be good because they're going to be a little bit easier for people to paint. I'm not sure how much crossover there is between like Gundam fan, anime fan, and like tabletop miniature fan, because those areas have sometimes intersected, but not too often in the West. So we might have a lot of people painting minis for the first time. Now, don't worry about that because I'm going to do painting guides. Of course I am. You're going to get to see me paint all these, and I'm going to tell you how to do it. So yours look amazing too. But for now, let's just take a look at these models as we can see them on the website. This is all from the Gundam TCG website, by the way. I'll put that into the description below, but that's where you can go and view all this information yourself if you want to see it. But anyway, I digress. RX-78, we've seen it before. Amazing classic mobile suit. A great blend of fantasy and reality in that it looks like something that a human being could ride in, but also has that fantasy of being this cool walking mecha kind of thing. Now let's move on to... And I'm so glad that we got the classic gun cannon pose. That's right. I actually saw people already complaining online that the gun cannon pose was silly. And my answer to you is, yes, absolutely it's silly. That's what the gun cannon is known for. It does sort of like the yoga, like cobra pose. I'm not sure. I'm not a big yoga enthusiast, as you can probably tell. But, this is the pose that the gun cannon strikes when it's going to fire its shoulder cannons, right? This is the cannon part of the gun cannon mode, right? So I love that we get sort of the cobra yoga pose, push-up thing and all that, and they've included some rocks underneath, of course. But it looks like we have like a little base behind it, right? We've got the circular base here, and then we've got the extra rock base. So how that will interact with the game itself when the game is on like little hex things, I do not know. That's going to be very interesting. Now that I think about it, these are circular bases, and I'm wondering, I feel like, no, I think the other bases, yeah, they were all circular. My brain is like, were those hex bases? No, they were all circular. But yeah, we get the classic gun cannon pose. I'm so happy about it. Again, all these mobile suits from Mobile Suit Gundam, the original series, they all have I would say an element of like vintage whimsy about them, right? Where they're realistic, but they're a little bit bulbous, right? There's a lot of rounded kind of things. They really sort of reflect a little bit of the DNA of the mecha from like the 60s from Japan, you know? Remember, Mobile Suit Gundam came out in the late 70s, right? So there'd already been, mecha stuff, right? Of course, in Japan. And so this was very much its own thing, but also still drew a little bit from what had come before it. And I think the gun cannon is just a great example of that aesthetic. So anyway, I love the pose. I always thought the mobile suit looked great in sort of a classic way, so I'm really excited about this one. Let's take a look at the gun cannon, or the gun tank rather. And I mean, this is just as basic as it gets, right? Mobile suit wise, you don't even have legs. You've got sort of the a little bit of the RX-78 type body, on treads. And this is one of the things I really love about Mobile Suit Gundam is that they show sort of a natural technological progression of Mobile Suit design, right? Where you had the Zeon, the space element that were making the Zaku's and things like that. They had already kind of figured it out. But the humans back on Earth, right, the Federation, was still working with a lot of gravity kind of stuff. So, of course, you're going to build something with treads on it before you build anything else. So you've got very mobile kind of gun arms, you've got shoulder cannons, and you've got treads. So just another really unique-looking mobile suit, and I'm glad we get a model of this, too. It should be noted that these are also the 3 mobile suits that there are token cards for in the game right now. The RX-78, the gun cannon, and the gun tank. The white base card produces all of these as well. So these are all minis that have cards, in the game already, of course. And again, I'm just looking at the Gundam card game website with this. Wings of Advance, of course. STO2, shooting stars race across the battlefield. New wings take flight. Oh, yes. Tall Geese and Wing Gundam there in the picture, which makes sense because we've got a Tall Geese model as well. But first, let's take a look at some of the other mobile suits here. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head what exactly these were called. These were sort of based in the antagonist side. This was all the Zex Marquis side of things. And I don't know why I'm forgetting the faction right now. I haven't watched Gundam Wing in a very long time, but these are kind of your Zaku equivalent, basically, in Gundam Wing. And as you can see, you got the mono eye. There was a lot of stuff in Gundam Wing that kind of reflected the original Mobile Suit Gundam aesthetic here. I'm not the biggest fan of these, but they are interesting. They're going to be fun to paint. I really love the pose on the second one here, where it's got the big shoulder-mounted cannon and everything like that. It's the Leo. Oh, yeah, they're called Leos. That's right. But the big one, for me, the thing that makes up for all of it is the Tall Geese. And if you look at the Tall Geese right away, and again, I think this speaks to the great mobile suit design across nearly every series in Gundam, you've got the basic. And then if you look at things, look at the face, look at the shoulders, look at the legs. You've got a lot of that DNA in the bigger mobile suits too, kind of the more marquee mobile suits, the Zex Marquis mobile suit, if you will, in this particular case. But I just think the Tall Geese is one of the best looking mobile suits ever made in the history of mecha. First of all, you've got this big, long sort of sniper cannon kind of thing. It's got a shield, which is just cool. It doesn't. There's a lot of shields in Gundam, and they always seem like, sure, they're practical, but at the same time, they're kind of unwieldy, and how much do they really block? This one doesn't cover a lot. So, again, it doesn't look like the most practical thing in the world, but it just looks neat. It's just cool aesthetically, right? You've got the big sort of plume on the helmet, and then the big rocket boosters in the back. I just love this mobile suit. The sort of samurai armor-esque face guard there, too, and it's neat. So, I can't wait to paint this one. I feel like I'm going to need to get multiples of all these because I want to do different color schemes and things, but I'm definitely going to do all the classic color schemes first. I just want this stuff lined up on my shelf. I need to get some shelves actually for this because I want them all on it. So although I kind of wish we would have gotten at least one of the Wing Bros, maybe like a heavy arms model, something like that with the starter. I think the focus of this is kind of really making a basic theme for each thing. And the fact is if you remember, all the Starter 1 models were all, Mobile Suit Gundam centric. These are all antagonist side for Gundam Wing. So already we've got 2 groups that could be played as a little mini squad. So this again leads me to think that maybe we are going to get some basic rules for Gundam Assemble with the release of these. So we can kind of get a little bit of a taste of what that game is going to be like. I really, really hope so, because the way these squads, the way they've chosen the minis for these starters line up, it kind of makes me think that's what we're going to get. Zeon's Rush, Starter 03. The legacy of Zeon lives on. All right. Veteran Aces rush forth once more. That's a hard sentence to say, actually. But we've got the absolutely beautiful Shinanju mobile suit, and then Char Zaku 2, of course, Full Frontal and Char Aznable. 2 of the hallmark protagonists or antagonists. Well, it depends on how you see it. Is Char an antagonist or a protagonist? Depends on your point of view, I suppose. I'd say antagonist, but enough about me. Let's take a look at the models here. Now, again, I would love to get a Shinanju model. We know the Shinanju model is out there, but these kits seem to really stick with one theme. And again, this seems like a playable squad. I think what we're getting here is really playable 3 model squads that are going to go great with a basic rules document for Gundam Assemble. I'm telling you, I'm feeling it. That's what we're going to get here. But first of all, we've got Char's Zaku 2. This one's going to be the red one. Just a cool Zaku 2. You've got the little head antenna thing there. That's kind of the hallmark of Char's mobile suit, besides the red color, of course. And, you know, all of them have spikes. All of them have the leg tubes and all that kind of stuff. But again, this is just classic, wonderful mobile suit design, wonderful classic mecha design where it looks realistic, but at the same time, there's that fantasy element to it too, where, you know, it's a little bit more rounded. You've got the spikes on the shoulders and all that. There's a little bit of style that goes along with it. So I love this mobile suit as well. I'm going to say this a lot. Gundam has always had a special place in my heart as far as my love for the way that the mobile suits are designed across pretty much all of the series. So get used to that, I guess. I love this. And then we got 2 Zaku 2s, by the way, for the other models. This one's really great because we got the axe, the big kind of like energy axe thing that the Zakus swing. That's kind of neat, right? Where you see a lot of like beam swords and stuff on the Federation side. And on the Zeon side, you see axes, which is pretty neat. I think that's fun. So we got a great axe swinging pose. Noticing how the models are fixed to the base here, too. You've got a lot of them that are fixed by just 1 foot. So just a quick note on that. In my opinion and in my experience with model building, that can make the structure a little bit shaky overall. So we might have situations where you might want to use a little bit of plastic glue to glue down these other areas here, just to give the model a little bit more durability. We'll take a look at it once I actually get the models in my hand, but I wonder if I'm going to have to do that. Sometimes you do have to modify the models a little bit to increase the durability. And then finally, this one will need no increase. We've got 3 points of connection here, so that's great. The knee, the hand, and the foot. And then this great bazooka. So just a really cool kind of action hero pose for this Zaku as well. And so I'm looking forward to painting all these. That's going to be fun. And yeah, another great little squad. Let's move on. The 4th and final starter kit that we're going to get is going to be Seed Strike, a fateful encounter. Strike with the bonds of Seed. I've never seen Gundam Seed. I know, I've said that before. It's strange because everybody loves the mobile suit design in this, and I do too. I've built a lot of these kits, but I've honestly never seen the show. It's one of the very, very few Gundam shows that I have not seen. Maybe I'm going to have to watch it at some point. But let's take a look at the models from here. These I'm not as familiar with. We've got the Launch Strike Gundam here. Right? Yeah, that's right. Launch Strike Gundam. Thankfully, they have the names because, again, I haven't seen this series, so I couldn't tell you if I saw them without the names. This is an interesting way to affix the model to the base here. I am not maybe the biggest fan of this just because it doesn't seem to match the rest of the kit. When I'm thinking about basing these, and when I talk about basing a model, it's about putting, you know, like debris, dirt, grass, whatever, what have you on these. You know, this is going to be like something I'm going to need to figure out what to do with. Am I going to make it look like maybe a piece of a building? Because I think what you could do is chip this up and make it look like a piece of debris that it just happens to kind of be near. The other thing, by the way, with painting these miniatures and basing these in particular, is you're going to have to think about scale, right? Because these mobile suits are large. They're very, very big. So you can't use the traditional grass elements and things that you'd use in like a Warhammer model base or something, because there you're dealing with a lot of like human, slightly larger than human, slightly smaller than human models. The scale is more human-sized, right? So a lot of the kit stuff out there, a lot of the grass and ground stuff is based around human-sized figures. And so where mobile suits are large, it's going to be a really interesting challenge to try to make the base look, you know, have things on a small scale. How am I going to make potentially little buildings? How am I going to make potentially like grass looking really, really tiny, or trees looking tiny, you know? Or trees, you know, fairly large-ish, but still small. I'm actually really looking forward to that challenge of the painting with these. That's going to be cool. But neat mobile suit. Like I said, Seed has a lot of really cool looking stuff. You know, we've seen it before. I really like the detail on the legs in particular on this suit. That's going to be fun. And then we've got the, what is this? The Sword Strike Gundam, right? I mean, it's got a sword, and that's going to be neat to paint too. We've got another little stabilization peg back here for the kit. It looks like this one, I'm guessing this foot's not going to be affixed to the base at all. It's going to be this one here. And from what we've seen, all the models are snap fit, right? You don't need any gluing, really. But I see this, and I'm like, all right, this is not probably going to have a peg through it. I'm guessing the peg is going to be here. So I'm probably going to put a little plastic glue right here to make sure that it's got a little bit more stability, you know. So it doesn't change the way the model looks at all. It just makes it so like if it's on the table and it gets bumped or it falls, that's one less point that can easily bend or break, right? So you got to think about that when you're building your minis. And then finally, something a little bit different. The Sky Grasper, kind of like the Wing Gundam from Gundam Wing, but it is another transforming mobile suit flying thing. Obviously, we had like the the core of the original MS or original RX-78 that could get out and fly around the G Fighter, right? So this is kind of in the tradition of that. It should be fun to paint. Nice detail on these. I think the one thing that really stands out for me with the seed models is that this is probably some of the most detail we've seen on the miniatures. So I like that. I like that we've got a lot of detail here on these because that's really fun. When you talk about shading something, getting that ink wash on it, so you get the ink that kind of goes into the crevices and things and adds depth and shadows, and then you dry brush it, right? You just kind of lightly brush across a brush with very hard bristles with a little bit of paint on it across the surfaces. Really hits all the edges and makes all the edges pop and gives it a lot more three-dimensionality. This is going to be a great model for like dry brushing and stuff. You're going to get really good results from that. So I'm looking forward to painting all these. I'm already kind of strategizing, as you can hear. But yeah, that's gonna pretty much do it. That is a look at all of the models coming in the Gundam Assemble versions of the Gundam card game starter decks. I just want to get these models in my hand right now. I'm going to see what I can do, but we might end up having to wait till July. We'll find out. But either way, if there's more news about Gundam Assemble or the Gundam card game that comes out, I will let you know. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please subscribe. Please like. Again, it really helps me out as far as building the channel, getting the opportunity, the reason to do this a lot more, getting, honestly, kind of paying for the model kits that I'm going to paint and then show you how to paint. That'll help too. So yeah, please support if you can. Otherwise, just enjoy the video, leave a like, and we'll see you next time.